Old powers waken, shadows stir. An age of wonder and terror will soon be upon us. An age for gods and heroes.
The glass candles are burning, and you're listening to the Obsidian Nights podcast. Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with the juice to get you through the long night. And on today's episode of the Obsidian Nights podcast, where we go through chapter by chapter of A Song of Ice and Fire, starting with the first book, A Game of Thrones, we're covering Jon 5. And in Jon 5, I have a special guest that's going to help me cover Jon 5. And this special guest happens to be a huge Jon Snow fan. And guess what? His name is Jonathan. Jonathan, welcome to Obsidian Nights. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you, Gray?
I'm good. Would you like to tell the people who you are and where they can find you?
All right. Well, I'm Jonathan. Some people call me John. You can find me on Twitter at Blurred Rhythm. You can also find me on Tumblr at the same, or even twitch.tv at the same. I talk a lot about Game of Thrones. I talk about Star Wars. I talk about all types of stuff. I haven't really been streaming as much as I used to, but I'm hoping to get back to that eventually. But yeah, Twitter and Tumblr are really the biggest places to find me.
So you stream about Game of Thrones on Twitch?
No, I stream video games, but I end up talking about whatever I feel like talking about. So Eventually that happens too.
Oh, that's awesome. I will link his Twitch, Tumblr, and Twitter in the description box so you can check him out. So like before we started recording, you were telling me that Jon Snow is your favorite character or one of your favorites.
Yeah, so it kind of cycles between three characters. So Jon, Dany, and Tyrion are my top three.
Okay.
And I have a whole theory about those three, and I guess we'll probably get to that in this conversation because
well, let's get started then. Let's get started. So the chapter opens up and we are at Castle Black at the Wall. And the chapter opens like this. You are as hopeless as any boys I have ever trained, Sir Alliser Thorne announced when they had all assembled in the yard. Your hands were made for manure, shovels, not for swords. And if it were up to me, the lot of you would be set to herding swine. But last night I was told that GRRM is marching 5 new boys up the King's Road. 1 or 2 may even be worth the price of piss. To make room for them, I have decided to pass 8 of you on to the Lord Commander to do with as he will. He called out the names one by one. Toad, Stonehead, Aurochs, Lover, Pimple, Monkey, Sirloon. Last he looked at Jon and the bastard. Pip let fly a whoop and thrust his sword into the air. Sir Alliser fixed him with a reptile stare. They will call you men of the Night's Watch now, but you are bigger fools than the mummer's monkey here, if you believe that. You are boys, still green and stinking of summer, and when the winter comes, you will die like flies. And with that, Sir Alliser Thorne took his leave of them. What's your thoughts on Sir Alliser Thorne?
That man is one bitter dude. Like, I mean, I get his bitterness because all he did was fight on the wrong side of the war and now he's stuck at the Night's Watch. But like, that man can insult you.
Yes. He's very bitter. And I think the dynamic between Jon and Sir Alliser Thorne is really interesting because if you think about it, Sir Alliser Thorne actually is at the wall because he fought for Jon's family.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, like if I'm pretty sure we're all pretty convinced that R plus L equals J. So it'd be interesting. And I think I heard you talk about it in other episodes about it'd be interesting if he had found out if Jon was Rhaegar's son, how he would react to him.
Yeah, I hope that we're all on the R plus L equals J page. I feel like if we're not, We should be. But I do understand, like, I get it. N plus A equals J is interesting. It's interesting.
It is.
It's fun. It's fun. But I think it's pretty much proof by what the writers of Game of Thrones have said and what George has said that it is R plus L equals. Like, George has never outright said R plus L equals J. But he said that D&D guessed Jon's mother correctly. And D&D, in my opinion, don't have the brain capacity to put N plus A equals J together.
Yeah, I think George wrote too many clues in for R plus L to not equal J. But I wouldn't be mad if N plus A equals J, but I feel like R plus L equals J is the logical progression from every clue he's left, or most of the clues he's left so far.
Well, I know this is a little bit of a jump from this chapter, but what do you think is the significance of R plus L equals J? Like in the big picture, like for Long Night, the wars to come.
Like it's got to be he's got to be the third head of the dragon, which is what Rhaegar's intention was with marrying Lyanna and having a baby by her. I don't think it happened the way it happened on the show. I don't think it was a whole love story type of deal. Mm-hmm. I think Rhaegar, as he got more in depth in the prophecy, I think he had his own form of quote unquote Targaryen madness when it came to the prophecy, and he wanted to do whatever it took to make it happen. And I agree. meeting and I think he seduced Lyanna, but I don't think he fell in love with her the way that the show made it out to be, or that a lot of people like to think it is.
Yeah, I don't think it was this love at first sight kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that he cared about her and she cared about him. I think she was probably in love with him. He did seduce her, but we know that Rhaegar is a prophecy motivated person. Mm-hmm. He's very prophecy motivated. So I definitely think that it's more, I need to do this to save the world.
Yeah.
Then I need to do this because I love this person.
Definitely. And I think maybe if they had both survived, he may have come to care for her the way he came to care for Elia Martell. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they had enough time together for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That love at first sight stuff is, I don't buy it.
At all.
I don't buy it. So basically, Jon, what's going on at the wall right now is that Jon and some of his friends are being passed. They've passed their training. Mm-hmm. And Sir Alistair is basically chewing them out or whatever. But one thing that he says is interesting is like, you are green boys stinking of summer, and when winter comes, you will die like flies. And I found that interesting because when we think about winter, like just in general, like take the White Walkers out of the equation. Like historically, winter was a very scary time in the real world. Like they had whole winter solstice festivals, like where people would they had harvest festivals and winter solstice festivals all to prepare for winter. And there's like a lot of darkness when you think about winter. And even in mythology, like winter is tied to darkness and it's a scary, 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 scary time. And I've always thought of the wall and the way they talk about winter as like talking about some sort of doom, like fated doom. Even in the prologue, when they're like describing Garrett and like his ears are missing and he's been frostbitten, and it just, winter just is so dark and scary in Game of Thrones, in A Song of Ice and Fire. And I think that resonates with real world winter. And for him to like, you know, like, you guys are going to die like flies. But at the same time, sir, your job is to train these people and you haven't done it.
Honestly, Sir Alistair reminds me of like that movie caricature of an army commander, like cussing out the recruits every time they're doing something.
Like, what is that? What is that movie? I love
Like
that movie.
Major Payne
And Full Metal Jacket.
or Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, that's another good one.
Full Metal Jacket, like the way that he's on Gomer Pyle. Like that guy's always fucking with Gomer Pyle. Like, I feel like that's Alistair Thorne. Like, that guy could have played Alistair Thorne to a T, and Major Payne too.
Yeah. And as far as winter goes, and I think it really resonates with the Stark words, like that whole winter is coming, because the Starks pretty much have been, other than the Night's Watch, the only people caring about winter.
Yes.
You know, they're defending the North from everything that goes on. They do all this harvesting and this collecting and this making sure that, at least as far as the North is concerned, people are okay. And when they look at how the South treats winter as like, it's just whatever, and they're like, the Southerners will never understand what winter really is because they've never experienced it the way we have.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something, because Alistair Thorne has been at the Wall for, 15 years at this point.
Yeah.
I think he's starting to get that understanding of what winter is. So as much as he's cussing them out, it is also his way of warning them, like, this is no joke. You guys can die out here.
I mean, that's true. And it's interesting, like, Jon's chapters always remind you. So when you're reading a Game of Thrones, one of my favorite things about A Song of Ice and Fire is that these characters are written from point of views. So you're in these characters' heads. And when you're reading the things that are going on in the South, in contrast with the things that are going on in the North and the things that are going on in Essos, like with Dany, it's so drastically different. So like in the South, we know that there's about to be a war. We know that a war is coming because Catelyn has taken Tyrion. The Lannisters are building an army. But we know in the North that at the Wall that they're preparing for winter. And we know that because of the prologue that there's something more to winter than it just being a dark period of time. We know that there's something magical going on. We know from Bran's POV that the wildlings that are at the Wall are fleeing from something. So Jon's POVs always bring us back to the real threat.
Right.
And I love that because it's easy to get, like, even as the reader, it's easy to forget the White Walkers.
Yeah, because like we spend so little time talking about them.
Yeah.
It's like we're all worried about, oh, what's going to happen with Eddard and King's Landing? What's going to happen with Cat and Tyrion? What's going to happen with Sansa and Arya and all of these people? And then you come back to Jon and it's like, there's more to this story than the politics.
Right. Oh, shit. We forgot about this.
Yeah, like real shit's about to happen.
Right. So they're excited. Jon and friends are excited that, you know, they're of the Night's Watch. They're happy. And Sam even, like, you know, is like offering Jon wine, like, you're gonna be the first Lord Commander, or you're gonna be the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch.
Like, you're going to be first ranger, just like your uncle.
Oh yeah, Benjamin. First ranger, not Lord Commander, Lord of Mercy. You're going to be first ranger, just like Benjen. And the thought of Benjen brings up bad feels.
Yeah, because we still don't know what happened to him.
We don't. And the Night's Watch people don't know, you know, what?
And I think later in the chapter, I think either later in chapter and previous chapters, they're already writing him off as dead, I think.
Yeah, they are. They're writing him off as dead. And Jon, in the previous Jon chapter, I don't know if it was the one right before this. I don't know if it was Jon 4 or Jon 3, but Jon has a vision, a dream, I think, where he sees Benjen with blood in the snow or something like that. Like,
yeah, I think
when his horse comes back. It's when his horse comes back.
So
he sees it.
I think that would have been John 4.
Yeah.
Because John 4 is also when he's defending Sam from Rast.
Yeah, it is. So it's John 4.
Yeah.
Rast, bitch ass.
That guy. But poor Sam, like at this point, he's like, I'm getting left behind.
Yeah, he is. And it's gonna work out for Sam. It's gonna work out for Sam. We're gonna be talking about that. But Sam's like in a bad position because Sam had Jon and his friends protecting him from Sir Alistair.
Right.
And now it's like, oh man, you know, they're gone now, or they're not going to be training with me. So
what am I going to do?
What is there for me?
Mm-hmm. It's like they're going to, and Jon, to Jon's credit, he's immediately concerned about that.
He is.
He's like, my boy Sam's going to get left. What are we going to do? Like the guys are all celebrating and he's thinking about what are we going to do about Sam? Because Sam can't get left behind.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things from day one I've admired about Jon is his concern about other people.
Empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy. That yes. Like Jon and Daenerys had that in common.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrion as well.
Yeah. It's like we gotta care about these people who aren't us because they're going through something. And Jon especially, he's like, yeah, I've been through shit, but Sam's been through shit. Like in John 4, when Sam gives him his whole story about why he's at the wall,
Randall,
like,
Tarly,
wow.
Yeah. Even Ghost.
That is a dick.
Even Ghost is like, come here, you sweet little lamb. Let me lick your tears from your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that's so admirable about Jon is that Jon is morally good.
Mm-hmm.
No matter any choices that he's made that you might not agree with, morally he's good.
Yeah.
Morally he wants to do the right thing. He cares about people. He would make a perfect king.
He would. And I, as much as it would be a quote unquote happy ending, and I know George doesn't really do happy endings, I hope Jon is king. If not forever, at least for a little while.
Well, right now, with the Game of Thrones season 8 ending that we don't speak of, he is technically king beyond the wall. So
yeah, this is true.
He is a literal king beyond the wall. Literally.
God, that season was so bad.
Yeah. Let's wash that taste out of our mouth with this. So they talk about the different positions at the wall. So there are stewards, builders, and rangers.
Yeah.
So Jon is certain, most everyone is certain that Jon will be a ranger. To be a ranger, you need to basically be able to fight. You need to be good with a sword. We know that he doesn't end up being a ranger.
Right.
But I
think it's interesting that he doesn't end up like, I feel like Jon's whole story, even, going forward, is being thrust into these leadership positions that he doesn't really ask for, but he's good for.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the time they decide that he's not going to be a ranger, he's going to be a steward, and he's going to be the Lord Commander's steward of all things. It's like he's getting thrust in these positions. That's like, yes, it's not what you want to do, but it helps you to be the man you'll need to be later on.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing about Jon that I admire is that he doesn't look for these positions. Like he doesn't ask for any of the stuff. It's just given to him.
Right.
And I do think that Jon being king would be very poetic because it's definitely not something that he would want.
Right.
He would never want to be king. He never wanted to be Lord Commander. He never wanted to kill Corrin half-hand. He never wanted to do any of the things that he ended up doing. He was groomed basically for it. He never wanted to be Lord of Winterfell. Well, he did, but when it was offered to him, he didn't take it.
Yeah,
it was offered to him by Stannis, and he didn't.
Yeah, and that was the one thing that caught me about him. It was like when you finally get the thing that in your deepest, darkest fantasies you wanted, and it's like, but it's not really for me.
Yeah.
Like, this is not how I want it, because it was like off the death of Robb, his brother, and Stannis just needed somebody to take that spot so that he could launch his campaign. And it's like, this isn't what I need to be.
Yeah.
You know? And
even when you think about Jon, like Jon thinks about it in this chapter. Like, so Jon goes and he takes Ghost hunting. So Ghost can eat. And he's thinking, once he swore his vow, the wall would be his home until he was old as Maester Aemon. I have not sworn yet, he muttered. He was no outlaw, bound to take the black or pay the penalty for his crimes. He had come here freely, and he might leave freely until he said the words. He need only ride on, and he could leave it all behind. By the time the moon was full again, he would be back in Winterfell with his brothers. So, another thing that's admirable about Jon is that most of these people at the wall are forced to choose that life. They don't have a choice. And the whole way to the wall, Tyrion was telling Jon, like, bro, this ain't what you want. And when he got there, he's, been kind of miserable. Like, it's cold where you sleep. It's lonely. The food isn't that great. Like, they work a lot. They have to do night watches and all this kind of stuff. But Jon is committed to that. Like, he's committed to it. And I think that speaks highly of who he is as a person.
Yeah. Like, Jon is definitely a man that will do his duty.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's the duty he chooses or the duty that's thrust upon him, that's his whole personality. Is, I'm gonna do what I have to do because it needs to be done, because it's the right thing to do. And it makes me wonder also what would have happened if he decided to ride back south when Robb called the banners after, obviously the end of Game of Thrones, when Eddard's killed and Robb calls the banners.
How cruel is it that Robb didn't call the banners before Jon swore his oath?
Oh my God. Like, so that's actually one of my favorite fan fictions actually explores that. What if Jon rode south when Robb called the banners? In that story, he rides south when the other brothers bring him back to say his vows. He says, forget it. I'm riding south to my brother and my family. And it always makes me wonder, what if George had written it in that direction? I get why he didn't, but especially knowing the type of person Jon becomes at the wall, it's like, would he have been a similar person had he gone back to Winterfell? Would he have been at the Twins when the Red Wedding happened? Like, the
wall preserved him.
Yeah,
it preserved him. He would have probably died, because Jon, if you think about it, Jon would have been with Robb by his side. Jon was closer to Robb than Theon.
That's another question I have. Do you think that Robb would have sent Theon back to the Iron Islands if Jon was there?
Probably, because Robb trusted Theon. Robb didn't even listen to his own mother.
That's true.
So I don't know if he would listen to Jon. I don't know if Jon would have even said anything, knowing Jon. Like, would Jon have said, fair. I don't think you should. I know that Jon didn't like Theon. But I mean, Robb should have listened to his mom. Like, that's one time he should have listened to his mom.
One time he should have listened to Kat. He
right. So he's thinking about, what if I just leave? What if I just leave the wall, go to Winterfell with my brothers? But then he thinks, like they're my half brothers.
Right.
And Lady Stark is going to be there and she's not going to welcome me. And he basically is like, there's no place for me in Winterfell. There's no place for me in King's Landing. He's like, even my own mother doesn't have a place for me. And it just makes him sad. And I feel like Jon is really lost. And the wall is basically what he feels where he feels he belongs.
And it stands to reason in that next sentence. Jon Snow turned away from the King's Road to look behind him. The fires of Castle Black were hidden behind a hill, but the wall was there, pale beneath the moon, vast and cold, running from horizon to horizon. He wheeled his horse around and started for home. It's telling that he already has decided to call Castle Black home.
Yep.
Despite the fact that he still longs for Winterfell. Castle Black is home now.
Yeah, I mean, it's his home. He's decided. I think the minute that he got on his horse and left Winterfell, he had decided. And no matter how bad the wall was, nothing was going to change his mind because he knew there was no other place for him. So he goes back to the wall or to Castle Black, and he goes to talk to Maester Aemon. And this is why I love Jon. So Jon, it's late at night. He goes to talk to Maester Aemon. Maester Aemon's stewards are there, Chet and Clytus. And they're like, Maester Aemon's asleep. You need to come back another time, like in the morning. And Jon's like, nope, I need to talk to him now. I need to talk to him right now. So Maester Aemon gets up and Jon talks to Maester Aemon, and Maester Aemon wasn't really asleep, right?
At all. Man, I wasn't sleeping. These boys just playing with you.
So I love the relationship between Jon Snow and Maester Aemon. I just want to say that I think Jon Snow's name is Aemon.
I am with you on that. I'm 100% on the Jon Snow's Aemon Targaryen train. So when I first watched that reveal episode when they had the flashback of Lyanna on her deathbed and making Ned promise, and I had initially thought that she named him Jaehaerys, but thinking about the relationship that he has with Maester Aemon, it would be poetic for his name to be Aemon Targaryen.
Yes, not even just the relationship that he has with Aemon, but like his favorite, like he was talking about him and Rob would always sword fight, and Rob would be like, I'm Florian the Fool, and Jon would be like, and I'm Aemon the Dragon Knight. Yes. So there's like all these little pieces.
And it would be fitting too, because Jon, as much as he would be, as much as he is a Targaryen and a Stark, he's his own man. And so he would be, if he was declared king, Aemon first of his name, because there's never been a King Aemon.
And who's Aemon's brother?
Aegon. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And who's Jon's brother? Aegon.
Aegon. Oh my God. Oh man.
So I did a whole video on all the evidence, and there's this one. This
is a big one right here.
This big piece. So
and Gilly, it comes back to him being that third head of the dragon too, because he's got his brother Aegon and his sister Rhaenys.
Listen to this clue; it's gonna blow your mind.
All right.
Gilly's baby, right? A High Lord takes Mance Rayder's son, who's a secret prince.
Yeah.
Takes him and pretends he's his son. Why does he take him? To save him from a Baratheon king.
Yeah.
What's the baby's name?
Aemon.
Right.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So it's like, I can't not think Jon's name is not Aemon at this point.
I just need George to put it on paper.
Yeah,
I
put
just
it on
need it to
paper.
happen. Just put it on paper. Put it in Dream of Spring. We don't even need it in Wind. Put it in Dream of Spring.
Yes. Put it in Dream, George, please. Please make it be Aemon. Like, if it's not Aemon, why were you trolling us, George?
George, if you're listening, we're asking you, we're pleading with you. Make it Aemon.
So, Aemon Targaryen, I mean Jon Snow. So Jon Snow goes to Maester Aemon and tells him everything about Sam. How, first he's like, I need to talk to you about my friend Sam. And Maester Aemon's like, well, is he sick? And Jon's like, no, he will be though, unless you help him. And he tells him, the whole story, like about them sicking Ghost on Rest. And he's like, he's hopeless with a sword. Like, my sister Arya could tear him apart, and she's not even 10. If Sir Alistair makes him fight, it will only be a matter of time before he's hurt or killed. And Chet chimes in like, he's a pig and a hopeless craven. And Maester Aemon's like, okay. Like, Maester Aemon's thinking about it. Chet is like, leave him where he is. The wall is no place for the weak. Let him train until he's ready, no matter how many years that takes. Sir Alistair will make a man of him or kill him as the gods will. And Jon is like, that's stupid. I remember once I asked Maester Luwin why he wore a chain around his throat. Maester Aemon touched his own collar lightly, his bony, wrinkled finger stroking the heavy metal links. Go on. He told me that a maester's collar is made of chain to remind him that he is sworn to serve, Jon said, remembering. I asked why each link was different metal. A silver chain would look much finer with his gray robes. Maester Luwin laughed. A maester forges his chain with study, he told me. The different metals are each of a different kind of learning. Gold for study, of money and accounts, silver for healing, iron for warcraft, and he said there were other meanings as well. The collar is supposed to remind a maester of the realm he serves. Isn't that so? Lords are gold and knights steel, but 2 links can't make a chain. You also need silver and iron and lead and tin and copper and bronze and all the rest. And those are farmers and smiths and merchants and the like. A chain needs all sorts of metals, and the land needs all sorts of people. So Jon is just straight up kicking out knowledge. Like, he's laying it down. And this goes to show that Jon is actually smart. He's actually smart to be able, like, I know a lot of people like think of Jon as kind of like stupid, like not stupid in a sense like Victarion Greyjoy stupid, but like they don't give him credit for being as smart as he is. But
and
for
I think
him,
a lot of that is the show's fault too, because the show did not show off how smart a lot of Jon's decisions were. Like, they showed us more of the stupid decisions he made that caused him to, end up in crazy situations. But there's a reason why, Jon was made the Lord Commander Stewart. There's a reason why Ned raised him alongside Robb. He's not a stupid kid at all.
not at all. And like by the end of this, Jon basically convinces Maester Aemon, to bring Sam on to help him. And Maester Aemon is like, Maester Luwin taught you well, Jon Snow. Your mind is as deaf as your blade, it would seem. So like Maester Aemon even recognizes that Jon is not some stupid brute from the north. Like, he's gonna use his mind. He's gonna make good decisions. He makes good decisions. And that argument that he brought up about the chains and links and people is brilliant. So Jon is like, well, does that mean you're gonna do it? And Maester Aemon's like, I'm gonna think about it. And Maester Aemon goes to sleep. And that is how the chapter ends. So what is your overall thoughts on this chapter? Like, what is something you want to talk about?
I want to talk about this conversation is my favorite part of this chapter. I know it's basically half the chapter, but it's my favorite part of this chapter because one, it again showcases Jon's intelligence, but it also it showcases pretty much everything I like about Jon Snow: his intelligence, his care for people, his ability to see potential in people. Because he's like, yeah, Sam can't fight, he can't hunt, he can't do these things that most men of the Night's Watch can do, but he's smart.
Yep.
He can read, and you can use him. Everybody has their uses, and there's no point. I think he's calling on his belief still that the Night's Watch is a place that is necessary. And so if the Night's Watch is necessary, then everyone that's there should be necessary.
Right.
So he's like, it'll be a waste for Sam to be here and you don't use him to the potential he has, because he's a smart guy. And his father sent him here because his father's a dick. But we can't keep him here and have Sir Alistair treat him like the way he's treating him, and his potential gets wasted.
Right.
And I like that Maester Aemon doesn't like turn him away immediately. He's like, let's hear him out. Let's hear what Jon has to say about this kid, and maybe it'll bring something.
There's a quote that I really love. I forget who the quote is by. It's not in A Song of Ice and Fire, but it reminds me of this chapter, this conversation that they're having. It says, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid.
Oh, I love that quote.
So everybody has something that they're good at. And Jon is noticing that. And it's not just Jon, it's Daenerys too. Like Daenerys in Essos, she takes people that others would never take a second look at. Like Jon does it with the wildlings, Daenerys does it with slaves and Dothraki. She takes those people and treats them as human and gives them their due. And Jon does it too. Tyrion.
Yeah.
And Bran to an extent. Like they all parallel. They all have these parallels, all the characters. Arya, she's slumming it, hanging with the people. But Jon, Tyrion, and Dany specifically, because they are in powerful positions.
Yeah.
They are queens, lord commanders, and hands of the kings. Like Tyrion does it with Bronn and the Stone Crows and the Moon Brothers, and Jon does it with the wildlings. Like and Sam and Pip and Gren. It's amazing how George ties them all together.
It's my those three are my three heads of the dragon.
So do you think Tyrion's gonna ride a dragon?
I don't know. So I'm on the fence still about whether, because I remember listening to you talk about it, how you feel about Tyrion being a Lannister or a Targaryen. And I'm on the fence because I would love for Tyrion to be a secret Targaryen, because it makes sense, because you've got Jon, a secret Targaryen, you've got Tyrion, a secret Targaryen, you've got Dany, not a secret Targaryen, but a Targaryen in hiding. And so it would be those three coming together and being the three heads of the dragon would be poetic. But Tyrion being Tywin's son is such a good literary thing.
I think George has it, but I don't think he's decided. Like, I do not think he's decided what he's going to do with Tyrion, or if it's something that we're ever going to learn for sure. Because there is, like, since I've been doing Obsidian Nights and rereading, even though I've reread this shit 1,000 times, but when you bring on multiple guests with multiple opinions and they bring up brilliant points, you can't deny that there is evidence for Tyrion Targaryen.
Yeah,
Tons of it.
from day one, from first Tyrion chapter,
First Tyrion chapter.
we've got evidence for that, and I think either way it goes, it'll be good. I don't know, and for all we know, the three heads of the dragon may not be a Targaryen thing. It may just be, it may be a Targaryen dynasty, but Tyrion being that third head doesn't necessarily mean he has to be a Targaryen. It could mean he's just that third necessary piece for things to go the way they need to.
I wonder where Aegon would fit into this, because I don't necessarily think that Aegon is Rhaegar's son, but I do think he has Targaryen blood. Or I think he's a Blackfire for sure.
I agree. I think he's Illyrio's son with Sarah.
Yeah.
Because I think Sarah's a Blackfire.
Yeah. I 100% on the same page. So that is Jon 5. Do you have anything that you want to add before we wrap up?
Let me see. No, I think I'm good on this chapter. I would definitely love to talk more about Jon anytime, or any other characters you're willing to bring me back on for.
You can come on anytime. Just hit up Nim Shadow, and anyone listening, you can also hit up Nim Shadow. Just hit her up and let her know you want to come back on for another episode, and she will set you right on up.
Good.
Maybe you should come on for Tyrion.
I would love to.
I think I have some Tyrion for a Clash of Kings.
All right, I'll ask her about that.
I'm not sure how far she's scheduled out, but I know she's scheduling for a Clash of Kings, and we could talk about Tyrion and King's Landing.
Oh yes. Tyrion and King's Landing is, oh God, that's great content.
Well, I want to thank you for coming, and thank you everyone for listening. I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to check out his links in the description box. Bye.